Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. And this video is to bring you a closer look at the Hager. This is their part number WTBB1279, 4.5 by 6 US10B, removable, standard removable pin hinge. So let's dissect the part number. It's a WT, that means it's wide throw. We'll talk more about that in a moment. It means it's wider than it is tall. It's a BB hinge, that means there's 2 bearing packets on this hinge, which is standard for a hinge like this. It's a 1279, that means a number of things. It means that it is a 5-knuckle hinge. It means that it is a standard weight hinge, where the thickness of the leaf is 134 thousandths of an inch thick. It means that it's a full mortise hinge because the leaves are swagged. When the door and frame or the leaves are brought parallel, and they're mortised flush to the edge of the door and frame, we're going to leave that margin that's between the 2 leaves, the 2 parallel leaves. So this is a full mortise hinge. A full mortise hinge will have the swag that you see on the leaf that's here and here actually. Also means it's a steel-based hinge. That's for sure part of the part number, that 1279. It means it's made of steel. I should probably have all of the bases covered. US10B, that means oil rub bronze. It would be more accurate to call this 640 finish or 640. That means US10B doesn't tell us what the base material is, the older US numbers. The BHMA version of that is 640, and that tells us that it's made of steel and then oil rubbed on top of it. Okay. The standard removable pin part of the part number means that you can get something in there and just tap that hole out, or tap that pin up, which is typical and common. You're going to want that for doors that swing in, or for circumstances where you're not concerned with any tampering of the pin, to pull that out to be able to pull the door out. Now, if it was an exterior door that swung out, very common application, you'd probably want the non-removable pin hinge, which would give you the ability to lock that pin down so that you basically cannot drive the pin up from the outside. I've had a question recently if you can hand these hinges, meaning take the pin out and remove this button tip. You can certainly remove that button tip and put it up on the other end. I may not suggest you do that because it's fast. It's not going to go anywhere. It's held in place. But if I was going to do that, I would probably drive the pin out and then get a very long piece of steel stock and insert it down through the barrel and try to tap it out that way is what I would end up wanting to do on that. Now there is, the holes are in the standard template location. The word template refers to a technical drawing, but it also means template. It's the standard location for these holes. Now there is a link below this video to the template, the technical drawing, that we can please pull up now so that we can review that together. Okay, now we've got that pulled up. Now you can see that the template refers to you can see that the template refers to a number of different hinges in both steel and non-ferrous hinges, a series of different part numbers. The template is generic in the sense that it will apply for all of those as it relates to the location of the screw holes. Okay, we'll also give you the details for your F dimension, which would be the length of the leaf itself. It obviously gives you the location of the screw holes measured from the bottom leaf. Okay, so before you purchase these, if you are replacing existing, you might want to review that template to make sure that the screw holes are exactly where you want them. They are not necessarily always the same, but probably for the last 40 years, I would say, if not longer, the template pattern has been the standard pattern for these, maybe 50 years. Something in that range. Now, the template's handy to give you that information is the bottom line. There are several pieces of information down below this video. Let's see if we've missed anything. The 134 thousandths gauge, which is also inferred in the 1279 part of the part number, is classified as standard weight. Standard weight means it's standard weight, but it also means that it's 134 thousandths of an inch when your hinge is 4.5 inch tall. Okay, so 134 is also what the caliper would say if you put it on this leaf, and that's important to know if you are matching existing as well. On a standard weight hinge, you're going to have 2 bearing packets, whereas on a heavyweight hinge, which would be 180 thousandths on this hinge, you'd have 4 bearing packets, so keep that in mind as well. 2 is inferred in that 1279 equals standard weight equal 2 bearing packet weight. 5 knuckle, we mentioned that earlier, for use on medium weight doors with low or medium weight use as well. Now, where would you use a wide throw hinge? Excellent question. Probably should have mentioned that first. A wide throw hinge, and this hinge is 4.5 by 6. Now, it's important to realize, it's important to simply understand that the height is the first dimension. The height is the first dimension. The height is 4.5 inch. The width is the second dimension. It's 6 inch. Why does that matter? Well, you don't want to order 4.5 by 6 inch hinges thinking the height is 6 inch, because it's not. Or a more appropriate scenario would be the possibility that you are working on a door that has 5 inch hinges, and it would be appropriate to have 5 by 4.5. Or as common, or even more common, are aluminum storefront doors, where they have 4.5 by 4s. 4.5 tall by 4 wide, not 4 tall, 4.5 wide. So anyway, the height is the first dimension. Where are you going to use this? Well, anywhere where you need to pick up some additional clearance. That would be caused by a frame that would be installed in such a way where there might be drywall, cement, concrete block, cement block wall, frame has been mortared in with T-anchors, the door is installed, then the drywall is brought over the furring strips and drywall are brought over the face of the block and then back to the face of the frame, making the reveal between the face of the hollow metal frame and the drywall maybe 0. What happens in a scenario like that is you're going to have a condition where when you get your door to 90 degree and then past, because all of this has been applied to the face of the wall, the distance from the face of the wall to the face of the door is now thicker because you've got that additional applied material to the face of the wall. You might be able to get the door to 90 or 95, but getting it out to 120 degree becomes a problem. Or your application might call for something to get out to 180 degree, where you need to physically move the vertical center line of pivot that 3/4 inch additional amount, because 6 inch hinge, which is this, minus 4.5, which would be a common width for a hinge, divided by 2 is 3/4 inch. You might need to push that out 3/4 inch because you need to get even more clearance when that hinge leaf is brought all the way open. So a wall condition could cause you to need it. You could also need, you could also have a scenario where you have applied something like shutters to the exterior of an opening. Same sort of concept, but more of a real-life scenario that a homeowner might encounter, where you still want the doors to open up but back around, but now you've got these decorative shutters on the exterior of the door, so that might put you in a scenario of needing a wide throw hinge. You might have an inset of the door into the frame deeper than standard. So if you were to stand on the pull side of the door and run your hand, when the door is closed, and run your hand over the face of the door and frame, most likely that door is kicked in just a small amount, 3/32 of an inch. Well, imagine if that was 1 inch. It's not common, but you'll see it. The original Capitol building, the original Capitol in the state of Iowa, which is in Iowa City, that Capitol building, which is 2 or 3 floors tall, I forget, is full of 12 or even deeper inch jambs, wood, and all of those doors are set in the center of those frames, so they have these outrageously wide hinges because in that 18-inch wall, the door is literally in the center of that frame. So imagine if you didn't have a wide throw hinge. Okay, first of all, the hinge wouldn't wouldn't sit down properly on the jamb because the barrel would be bottoming into the jamb, but you wouldn't get your door hardly open at all. So that would be a scenario. Older building construction, old homes in the southeast of the United States that are 100+ years old, that are 3 floors or maybe 4 floors tall, they're going to have exceptionally thick walls to support the weight of everything above. Again, you'll see that door kicked in substantially. Or another application, believe it or not, is I've seen 4 panels, 1, 2, 3, 4 panels, that they have the outer panel fold. Then they take those two panels and fold them back, and then they do it again. So the first door, the leading edge door, and that door needs a standard hinge, or maybe even a slightly narrow hinge. Well, this one's going to need a wide throw. The next one's going to need even a wider throw, and the back one, if you want to put it all the way around to the face of the wall, is going to need a super wide throw. Turns out that the client on this job is doing exactly that, and it's not the first time I've seen it or run into it. There's a loading dock door in a building in New York City, Central Park South, that is where I first saw this idea years and years ago. And it was, no one would notice how wide the hinges are, but when you realize, my gosh, look at the vertical axis of pivoting on those hinges, what's the purpose? Well, then you quickly realize you're folding those doors all the way up. Brilliant solution, because if you've ever been to New York City, everything's tight. Space is at an ultra premium. So lots of reasons why you might need it. And also, if you're looking at wide throw hinges, you might need to consider an extended lip strike as well. That scenario where the drywall wraps around to the face of the frame, you might have a situation where the latch bolt of the lock is striking the drywall prematurely, and you want it to hit the strike plate. You might need a wider lip or a longer lip on your strike as well. Suffice it to say, Hager can make any wide throw hinge that you need. The variables being gauge, size, base material, security requirements, bearing, finish, naturally, radiused corners, decorative tips, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that I would be missing. There is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Hager products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, along with a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the Hager, WTBB1279, 4.5x6, US10B, oil rub bronze wide throw hinge, or any other Hager product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.